You're based in Ethiopia?
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email newsroom@kbc.co.ke, call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Which is, especially with the vaccination.
It is indeed the first Friday and the first day of the 10th month. Good afternoon and welcome. This is KBC Lunchtime News. Thank you for making time. Remember, you can also be part of this conversation via our social media spaces at Facebook, on Facebook, on YouTube, and also on Twitter. My name is Njue, and Lucy Maura will be our sign language interpreter. Now, straight to the news, we begin in Migori, where Orange Democratic Movement Party Secretary General Edwin Sifuna has appealed to elected leaders to mobilize people to register as voters in the mass registration exercise set to kick off this month. Sifuna, who was speaking in Rongo, Migori County, said the county tops in Nyanza with over 250,000 out of the 1 million people yet to register as voters. The ODM party official attributed the high number of unregistered voters in the county to laxity among elected leaders to sensitize people on their democratic rights.
Kama wewe umechaguliwa kwa ODM ama wewe ni aspirant wa ODM, ya kwamba sasa turudi mashinani, kwa sababu lazima tusajili wapiga kura wapya, wale ambao hawako kwa register ya voters. Hapa Migori, IEBC imetuambia there are 215,000 people who have IDs who have not registered as voters. 215,000. In the whole of Nyanza, it is almost 1 million. Kwa hivyo, hawa ndugu zetu mimi nimeona hapa, wamekuja hapa wanasema, mimi ni aspirant wa hii, mimi 2022, mimi ni hii. Saa ile utaleta application yako kama candidate wa chama, uta-attach document ya kuonyesha ulisajili wapiga kura wangapi.
Elsewhere, the Ma community has been challenged to stop retrogressive culture that deny the girl child access to education. Speaking at Narok Bible School ground, Light of Life Foundation Director Evelyn Nakola say the community should stand up to protect girls and enable them pursue their goals and lives in dream.
The Ma community have been urged to disregard retrogressive culture that curtails progression of the girl child education. Speaking at Narok Bible School, Light of Life Foundation Director Evelyn Nakola said the community must now be in the forefront of protecting the girl child.
My message to the parents out there that are not willing to educate girls or even support the boy child, that it is important to educate a girl, because as we say that educate a girl and you will have educated a whole community. It is important to educate a girl. I've gone through education and I know the benefits.
Ningependa kuambia viongozi wetu washikane ili waweze kusaidia msichana wa Kimasai aweze kufika mahali wengi wamefika. Kila msichana apatiwe nafasi kama tu kijana vile anapatiwa nafasi.
Nakola said in a talk alone, she has managed to rescue 34 girls and most of them are doing well in their lives. Area Deputy County Commissioner Esther Nduta says the government is working together with the foundation to help girls pursue their dreams.
Practices like FGM and early marriages. So we as the government are very proud to be associated with an NGO that is looking into the issues of girl child and especially educating the girl child, rescuing the girl child from these retrogressive cultural practices. And we urge everyone to support our efforts, including NGOs.
We now cross over to the Radisson Blu, where there is the official launch of the Eastern Africa Regional Collaborating Center, or the CDC, and the Commission has supported the fight against the pandemic with the deployment of over 4,000 community health workers and also scaled up testing capacity when it matters COVID. But I can see our reporter Purity Museo is on standby to give us more on that development. Purity?
A very good afternoon to you, Njue. We are coming to you live from Arboretum right here at the Radisson Blu Hotel, where the launch of the Regional Collaborating Center, EARCC, is officially happening here. And of course, some of the representatives come from the Center for Disease Control Africa, ministers of health from different regions, Tanzania and Kenya, of course, and Uganda. And the reason that this center is being launched here is to just ensure that some of the things that will be addressed is to support the region, the East African region, in terms of the response to some of the diseases. And it's coming, Njue, at a time when the World Health Organization did release a report that only 15 African countries have been able to hit its target of ensuring that at least 10% of the population of any country's population is vaccinated by the end of September. And Kenya is among the countries that are yet to hit this target, having vaccinated only 4%. Before we proceed much, let's speak with the regional coordinator for this center that is aimed to, or that is said to be, hosted or held here in Kenya, and the region will be based here in Kenya, to just get to understand what the Center for Disease Control is doing, especially at this time where Africa is struggling with deployment of vaccines. Thank you so much for joining us. Maybe you can just quickly tell us, today we are launching this Regional Collaborating Center, what it means for the East African region. Just come closer, please.
Thank you. Today, it's a very exciting moment as we are launching the Eastern Africa Regional Collaborative Center, African CDC. Our governments and head of states, considering the health challenge in the continent, they have endorsed the establishment of Africa CDC in their assembly in 2015, and Africa CDC was established in January 2017. And regional, so the head of states also endorsed in the statute the establishment of regional coordinating centers. So this, in fact, the very basic principle of having the regional coordinating center is coordinating health activities, health challenges in the region. It is to create Africa CDC without walls. When the support is acquired at a time of need immediately.
And what are some of the issues that will be that you look at addressing first? We know health issues that you look at addressing first once this center is officially established.
Yeah. So Africa CDC and the Regional Coordinating Center, the objective of it is enhancing the capabilities of the member states in terms of detection, and if you detect early, in terms of prevention, and also early intervention and treatment. So basically, it is to enhance the capacities and the capabilities of the member states to immediately respond. because whenever something happens, an infectious disease or a disease threat happens, immediate response is with them. So it is building up the local capabilities. And not only that, as we have seen, diseases do not have boundaries. So what's happening here today in Nairobi would happen tomorrow in Ethiopia, in Uganda, in Tanzania. We have learned a lot during COVID pandemic. So we also need to coordinate, to partnership, and use the available public health assets, and so these are the mechanisms or the approach for the regional coordinating centers.
And this launch is coming at a time, the World Health Organization did release a report that only 15 out of the 54 African countries have been able to vaccinate at least 10% of their population. Maybe what are some of the challenges that are facing COVID-19 deployment in Africa?
Yeah, we have learned a lot during this COVID-19 pandemic. African countries, African member states coming up together and fighting against the pandemic. So at the end of the day, the solution is in our hands. We need to put our efforts together. As you know, even for vaccine availability, even when you have the money, the availability of the vaccine is also an issue. So it's up to the continent now. So, for example, the African member states and through Africa CDC is also facilitating the availability of vaccine to member states through various mechanisms. So it's very, very important for African member states to come together to have our own solutions. Just to be cited as an example is recently countries have put their own funds and vaccines are being distributed to African member states.
And as the coordinator for the East Africa, maybe what are we looking at? Because we are hugely affected. Most of the East African countries have not vaccinated up to this 10%. With the launch of this region or this center, what are some of the efforts that we are going to see to ensure that we hit this target and the next target that the World Health Organization is going to put for countries and ensure that we vaccinate as many people as possible?
Yeah. The launch of the Regional Coordinating Center is one very important milestone because it brings about visibility to the Regional Collaborative Coordinating Center, and it creates a platform of more partnership, more coordination, and also more commitment. As you have seen, the health, our excellencies health ministers in the region, and also it's a hybrid launch program, in person and physical, and also other ministers of livestock, agriculture, environment, and also academic institutions and centers of excellences, regional economic communities, and also all development and health partners are talking together. So coordination and partnership would bring about more response and better and effective response.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do appreciate. Njue, that has been Dr. Cham, and she is the coordinator for the East African Regional Collaborating Center that is set, officially launched, but it will be based here in Nairobi, and it's just support the countries, especially into the response and prevention of some of the diseases. And we are talking about COVID-19, and Kenya is among the 50 countries that have missed out on the 10% vaccination target that was set by the World Health Organization, and only 15 countries in Africa have been able to vaccinate over 10% of their population, and therefore if it's 50 countries are yet to vaccinate, then that means that 35 of most of them are from the African region. So we are just going to see what are some of the efforts they are going to put and ensure that vaccination drive is ramped up, especially in Africa. And of course they are challenging African countries to also try and see if they can manufacture COVID-19 vaccines so as to address the issue of inequality as far as accessibility to these jabs is concerned. That's it from us. I'm Purity Museo. It's back to you, Ben Troy, in studio.
Thank you so much, Purity Museo, live from the Radisson Blu, where stakeholders have converged on the official launch of the CDC East Africa Regional Collaborating Center. They are tackling a variety of ailments, but majorly focusing on the COVID-19 situation. Kenya actually being one of the 15% of countries that have not yet achieved at least 10% of the vaccination programs. And of course, talking about how the collaboration and coordination will bring in more support. Thank you, Purity, and she's keeping a keen eye on that report and bring us more in our subsequent bulletin. Moving on, youths from arid and semi-arid lands counties have been encouraged to take advantage of the government's 100% academic transition vision to get an education. During a workshop held in Maralal, harmful cultural practices such as female genital mutilation, early marriages and pregnancies were pointed out as vices derailing girl-child education. It was also noted that the cases of girls being defiled by Morans in the Asal counties are on the rise, denying them the right to education.
They're my private part, nobody should touch them.
Samburu County Director of Gender Albert Wanjohi says rights of girls in Samburu County have been neglected for a long time, and it's time to change the narrative.
It is important for them to be sensitized and be trained on their rights so that they can know, especially, for example, when it comes to the issue of defilement, they'll be able to know that the Morans do not have a right.
At a workshop held in Maralal town, organized by Akili Dada, delegates who included Samburu Wellbeing Initiative say there is need for more awareness campaigns.
Sexual reproductive health is correlated ama venye ina affect education ya wasichana. Awareness kwa religious leaders, elders, wamama wanafanya ukeketaji.
The girls are being taken as herders, so their parents take them as herders, and they are also taken to be married off so that they are a source of wealth to their parents.
It was noted that girls in rural areas have been more disadvantaged since schools are located far away from their homes.
We have problems with the ones that are outskirts, like the other sub-counties, if I might say. You might find that it's hard for them to access education.
Equal rights as boys. We should make sure the schools are accessible to girls and parents are being sensitized.
Delegates emphasizing the importance of promoting girl-child education, especially among the herders community.
Kuhamasisha wazazi waweze kusomesha watoto ambao ni wasichana shule kama vijana, kwa sababu watoto wasichana na vijana hawana tofauti.
For Lunchtime News, I'm Ruth Wamboi.
Moving on, the rising cost of production in farming is pushing away tens of dairy and poultry farmers in Nakuru County from the market. This has been worsened by a drop in the price of the end products and the COVID-19 pandemic, which saw the farmers incur huge losses. The farmers are now appealing to the government to subsidize farm inputs and feeds as one way of supporting the sector that employs millions in the country.
Sasa tutakuwa tukipeleka mifugo yetu ikakule free range. Tuna practice kitu kinaitwa zero grazing. Na kwa hiyo zero grazing ni top 100% feeding on in-brought food feeds in the farm. Serikali iweze kusubsidize kilimo cha ng'ombe katika nchi yetu.
Uzaji wa mayai, maziwa, bei bado iko pale pale, lakini bei ya chakula inaenda juu sana.
Now, drought being declared as a national disaster in our continuing edition of Bane of Drought, we are looking at the drought situation in Tana River County, and Karo Kamau brings us that report.
Tana River County is largely semi-arid. The county registered depressed rains in 2020 and 2021. Grazing lands, most water ponds and water reservoirs have since dried up.
We depend on water ponds. That water has dried up. People are looking for water from far, and the water we find is dirty. We have no food. We need help.
This is Lagabuna. These residents of Asa village have walked for approximately 20 kilometers to this point in search of water. At this point, both men and women dig up a well with the hope of finding the precious commodity. Today they are lucky, but the process of getting the water from deep in the well to the surface is not just tedious, but a precarious process. When this well dries up, they will move to another area, but they say due to prolonged drought, most places are barren lands. At Asa Primary School, a school teacher here says the situation is increasingly becoming unbearable.
Maji yamekuwa shida kweli kweli. Mpaka imefikia mahali mwalimu anaamka asubuhi saa 9 anaenda kutafuta maji, anarudi saa 1, anaingia darasani saa 2:30, anashinda mpaka saa 11, anaenda tena kutafuta maji 10 liter. Akija hajui apike saa ngapi, relax saa ngapi, ndio asubuhi aingie darasani saa ngapi. Performance itakuwa vipi? Watoto watapata nini? Walimu wamechoka, watoto wamechoka.
We leave Asa for Ngururi. Today, residents have gotten a reprieve after the National Disaster Management Authority brought in a water bowser.
Shallow wells have dried up, the water ponds have dried up, and now over 50 centers are now in need of water tracking, like this center of Gururi. So we are able to give to the community 18,000 liters for 3 days. And then we are also supporting the schools and health facilities. We are giving them 8,000 liters per week.
But these pictures tell a story of the growing need of water in this area. I visit Mzee Sagabo Guyole's home. He is a pastoralist. His livestock is the only source of income for his family. His in-calf cow just died. Another one is on the brink of giving up.
Na bei ya hizi ngombe za hii imerudi nyuma kabisa. Ngombe kubwa saa hii hata 10,000 haifiki. Na hiyo pesa ambayo inakuja, hiyo pesa tunagawa karibu mara 3. Kama kuna mtoto wa shule, hiyo pesa inaenda kwa mtoto wa shule. Kama ni chakula ya ngombe, hiyo pesa inaenda kwa chakula ya ngombe na chakula ya binadamu, ambazo haiwezi kutosheleza hizo mahitaji wewe uko nayo. Kama uko na bibi 3, kama uko na watoto wangapi, hiyo pesa haiwezi kutosheleza.
Lack of water, poor rains and lack of pasture has seen 7% to 10% of livestock here dying.
Mimi kama mfugaji ama mwenye hii boma, hii kifo ya hii ngombe ambayo iko na hii peke yetu tumepata. Sehemu zingine kwa mtu mwingine ngombe 10, kwa mtu mwingine ngombe 6, kwa mwingine ngombe 7, kwa mwingine ngombe 2. Hakuna boma ngombe haijakufa. Kwa hivyo ni hasara moja kubwa sana kwa mfugaji, ngombe ya mimba kufa.
Residents here, who are largely pastoralists, are becoming hopeless. They say if the October rains fail, the situation will go from bad to worse. The national government, in collaboration with the county government, is trying to do its part to alleviate the suffering of the residents.
We have gone into water tracking because of areas being very far from the river. So what we do is we use our water bowsers. We do tracking towards the areas where it's very, very dry for both animals and for human consumption.
It is estimated that over 175,000 people are affected by drought in Tana River out of a population of 370,000. Over 50 schools are also in need of water support. Stakeholders are, however, rooting for permanent solutions to the incessant problem. The irony, however, is that Tana River County is home to River Tana, the longest river in the country, and it is home to Bura Irrigation Scheme and Hola Irrigation Scheme Security Project that, if well harnessed, can revolutionize the region to be part of Kenya's food basket. The drought situation in Tana River County has been described as dire. The livestock here are dying. Almost half of the population is facing starvation. Residents are now calling for immediate and lasting solutions to save both their lives and livelihoods. Reporting for KBC from Gorori in Tana River County, my name is Caroline Kama.
Thanks, Caro, for that report. And tonight, join Caro Njenga again for the last installment of our special feature, Bane of Drought, where we'll be looking again at the drought situation in the country. Well, moving on, youths in Longopito Village, Oldonyiro ward of Isiolo County, have ventured into low-cost brick-making business, offering the local population alternative construction materials. The innovation has reduced the time lost transporting building blocks from Ndarugo in Thika Kiambu County on Kubo in Meru County. The youths fetch free sand and water from nearby Longopito Valley and charge 50 shillings for every brick they make, with clients also providing cement for use in the brick making process.
So, tuliamua kufanya hii kazi, saizi tuko zaidi ya miaka 3. Juu tulijaribu kibarua, kila mahali tunaenda tunakosa. Mimi nimeenda mpaka Somalia, huko yote saidi za Garissa, hakuna kazi, nikaamua kurudi nyumbani. So baada ya kurudi nyumbani nikaamua hii biashara. Kwa hii biashara nikaona inanilipa, sababu nikitengeneza mawe moja nalipisha 50 area hii, lakini huko town nalipisha 20 bob. So naona inanisaidia na njenga.
Job iko ni venye wanakataa kujitolea kufanya kazi. Ningependa serikali itudonate mambo ya mashini na community pia waelewe kwamba hii mchanga ni ya bure na waweze kutupea vijana kazi ili tuweze kuendeleza na hii kazi ya kutengenezea blocks.
To the corridors of justice now, where there was drama in a Mombasa court after a man caused a ruckus, citing frustrations from court staff and orderlies. Gordon Teti disrupted court proceedings, saying his attempt to collect documents concerning his case was being frustrated by unscrupulous staff.
After failing to get the court documents from the Shanzu Court Registry, where he had been camping for almost 1 week, Gordon Teti stormed a court session seeking audience with Shanzu Senior Principal Magistrate Florence Masharia. Inside the packed court, 2 police officers approached him, and to their surprise, he started lecturing them. Gordon then narrated to the court how he had been frustrated by the judicial officers, accusing them of laxity and soliciting bribes.
Come to court for fairness, for justice. People don't come to court when you speak, when you raise a concern, the police are called for you. Let this thing go up to Nairobi. This is now notorious. This Shanzu court is now notorious.
He says his tribulations with court began in 2019 when he was charged with a traffic offense after allegedly declining to bribe 2 police officers who stopped him in Mitamboni area of Bamburi in Mombasa. He said he was booked at the Bamburi police station and dragged to court the following day on trumped-up traffic charges leading to a 3-year battle in the corridors of justice.
I'm taking the police to the High Court. I'm the one now going to file a complaint against the police for arresting me, beating me up, detaining me in the cell.
The case was dismissed last week by Shanzu's senior principal magistrate David Odhiambo. Court orderlies eventually calmed him down and he was escorted out of the courtroom, which then resumed sessions.
And away from that drama, we cross borders to Australia, where the country is set to reopen its international border from November after its closure in March of 2020 to contain the COVID-19 virus. This will be a sigh of relief to vaccinated citizens as the country will return to a state of normalcy.
Australia has had some of the world's strictest border rules even after banning its own people from leaving the country. The policy was put in place to suppress the COVID-19 situation in the country. The government stated that it was time to give Australians their lives back and it was working on welcoming tourists. In other news, the Somali government, in collaboration with the Humud Salam Foundation, a charity set up by a large telecoms company, has intensified its fight against COVID-19 by opening a large-scale factory intended to produce much-needed medical oxygen. The plant is set to produce 1,000 cylinders of oxygen per week and is expected to be a huge step in strengthening the country's public health infrastructure. Elsewhere, a former Malawian Parliament Deputy Speaker, Clement Njue, has shot himself dead in an office in Parliament. This is after a dispute he had with parliamentary officials over the ownership of a specially adapted vehicle. In his note, Njue, who was also a former member of Parliament, said he was tired of begging for what belonged to him and took his life for fear of hurting others. Police are now investigating the matter. Finally, more than 100 inmates have been killed in a deadly fight inside a prison in Ecuadorian Port City. Police who stormed the jail after violence broke out between prisoners stated the inmates were connected to Mexican drug cartels.
Now, the Capital Markets Authority has extended the provision of licenses granted to 4 coffee brokers, but those details plus much more will be bringing them on this bulletin on the other side of the break. Let's first of all take a quick break.
Tukidondoka Mola tuokote, uniombe nisipate ugumu kukutafutia mama, tusichoreke mama, amini mimi nawe tutafanikiwa wote.
This week the spotlight is on gospel artist Mr. Seed. The celebrated musician and performer recently launched his much anticipated debut album Black Child.
Usiondoke hata ikibidi, wendo tunda mindo sidi, minakupenda sana, tusiachane mana.
Catch the hitmaker Mr. Seed on Easy Friday at 9:45 p.m. with Shiksha Aurora only on KBC Channel 1.
You are the only one for me. You are the only one.
Then left there, I skiing through the empty streets. The best it gets played there. My heart jumps, I'm so crying.
Mke anafaa kuwa anamtii mume wake na kuhifadhi siri za nyumbani, naye mume anafaa kuwa mwadilifu.
Wakati wa kula, ile chakula iko mezani,
Ukila chukua kijiko na pia umlishe mke wako. Yaani hapo mahaba itaongezeka katika hiyo nyumba.
Lost in the wilderness of your love and beauty. Here in my mind, I spend my life.
Me to copy your assignment, knowing very well you'll get 2 out of 30.
Teacher, maybe you didn't hear the part that I said. I paid someone to do it on my behalf.
Women, eh? Baka mpembeleze Fonati. If this was you could have already helped her.
No assignment for who? Let me tell you, it will be his fault if he doesn't come for the assignment by the end of today. Yes.
You remind me of my grandfather Mbaka Tushangu.
That's so.
He's Mugali just like you. He's a very stubborn old man.
Come in. I know your mangoes are sweet, but not like this one. Son, where did you get this one? I must buy some for my sibling.
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
Welcome back and thanks for keeping it KBC. Moving on, the Capital Markets Authority has extended the provisional licenses granted to 4 coffee brokers by 30 days. The authority's chief executive, Wycliffe Shamia, says the 4 agents are yet to fully comply with the set requirements to start trading at the Nairobi Coffee Exchange.
Kipkelion Brokerage Company Limited, Murang'a County Coffee Dealers Company, Mount Elgon Coffee Marketing Agency Limited, and United Eastern Kenya Coffee Marketing Company are yet to meet coffee trading conditions set by CMA 3 months after being partially licensed. The authority has extended the provisional licenses for the 4 marketing agents by 30 days to allow them set up modalities for compliance. The 4 are yet to start trading at the Nairobi Coffee Exchange due to a standoff between the Ministry of Agriculture and Capital Markets Authority over licensing. According to the Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya, licensing of coffee is a preserve of the Food and Agriculture Authority and not the Capital Markets Authority.
So there is nowhere in the law where CMA has been given mandate to license auctions. Then they should even license Ukulima market as an auction. Let them concentrate on stock markets and the capital market.
Efforts by the Capital Markets Authority to have the 5 millers it had licenses to trade at the Nairobi Coffee Exchange were thwarted by the exchange that said it was awaiting directions from the Ministry of Agriculture. The licensing standoff between Munya and the CMA culminated in the Agriculture Cabinet Secretary extending licenses for all marketing agents by a year. Munya said Capital Markets Authority has no infrastructure to support coffee trading in the country and plans are underway to draft laws and regulations for coffee marketing agents in the country. Benson Rioba reporting for Lunchtime News.
Moving on, Crown Motors Group Kenya is banking on enhanced level of technology, safety, durability and reliability to drive sales for the new Nissan Navara. Crown Motors Group Managing Director Tony Vuhout says the new model targets, among others, those in construction, agriculture and logistics.
The 2 models that we've launched in the last 2 weeks have been a long time coming and something that we're really excited about. And the 2 models that we've actually launched are 2 different sectors of the market. So one smaller vehicle focused at passenger, family orientated business, where obviously the pickup is open to the whole market in various segments.
Employment income earned by Kenyans living or working abroad and income by a multinational business is subject to no tax in Kenya. As Caroline Njenga explains, income tax is chargeable on all the income of a person, whether a resident or non-resident, accrued or derived in Kenya.
Most Kenyans living abroad often wonder why they should pay tax in Kenya, the applicable tax rate, how to mitigate double taxation, among other predicaments. Kenyan residents are taxed on their worldwide income. Kenya operates a source-based tax system, meaning that income is only subject to tax in Kenya if it accrued in or was derived from Kenya. There are, however, a few exceptions to this rule. In the case of employment income earned outside Kenya by a Kenyan resident and income of a business carried on partly in Kenya and partly outside Kenya. In these two scenarios, the person is required to declare the income earned outside Kenya together with any income earned in Kenya and file the return via iTax on or before the 6th month following the end of the accounting period. Kenyan residents are entitled to a set-off of a tax paid on employment income accrued in a foreign country against tax payable in Kenya on the same income. Where there is double tax agreement between Kenya and another country, the provision of agreement shall apply. Double tax agreements are agreements between two or more countries for the avoidance of double taxation and the prevention of fiscal evasion with respect to income and capital. The agreement sets out terms and rules of how income or profits of cross-border transaction are to be treated by the two countries so that the taxpayer do not end up paying tax twice on the same income. Double tax agreement may provide for the taxation of certain incomes at reduced rates. Double tax agreements may also provide a tax exemption in Kenya or a tax relief in Kenya for the taxes paid abroad. Countries that have double tax agreements with Kenya include Zambia, South Africa, Canada, India, France, Germany, and Qatar.
Elsewhere, a group of 30 persons with disabilities in Laikipia County are making a living out of honey production. The group have a honey collection center where locals aggregate their honey for value addition and packaging. Here is Benson Rioba with the details of this week's edition of Farmwise.
Kenya produces 14,000 metric tons of honey annually against a consumption of 30,000 metric tons, with the country forced to import from, among others, Tanzania, Egypt and Australia to fill the deficit. A group of persons with disabilities in Laikipia County are tapping this demand by venturing into the 4.5 billion shillings honey industry. The group of 30 has started a honey production center with a capacity to process 2 tons of honey a day, but they are only able to produce 48 kilos of honey after every 2 weeks.
In our process 48 jugs ya half a kg. Hiyo inaweza kuwa ya wiki mbili, then after 2 weeks then wanaitisha.
The group that started with a capital of 150,000 shillings receives honey from farmers before adding value and packaging it in small quantities that retail between 400 to 800 shillings.
When farmers bring honey in this place, we first check, we do quality assurance for the honey. After that, we